Mary, I'm going to talk to you a few minutes about the bureaucracy. Bureaucracies are universally disliked, but if they don't work, the government, simply stated, does not work. You have been part of the city government on the city council, I believe, for 5 years now.
7.
7 years.
You're right.
Do you think the city council's about the right size? Is it too big?
The city council, whether right-sized or too big, what we did when we reduced the number of at-large positions, we forever changed the complexion of city council from the standpoint that you have more people who are part of a district and less people who represent the city at large. When that happened, the shift in power actually got stronger for the mayor than the council members, because it was always easier in the 10 years that I was a citizen advocate to be able to counteract a strong mayoral form of government with more people that were at large. So you had a different complexion of the way that the power worked. In a strong mayoral form of government, the mayor controls all the money, all the city services, all of the contracts. It's a very, very powerful system that is vested in the mayor. And so in looking at, do we have too many council people, not enough, rather than that argument, I want to bring in, and I have said, someone to function as a chief operating officer who has the skill set, the background, and the experience of a city manager or county manager. Because what I have seen is that in our strong mayoral form of government, council people essentially become the de facto customer service department. And they each find somebody in their little office that can go out and gets a friend in the department who then goes out and fixes whatever they need. And so even if the city were functioning somewhat effectively, you've got this going on, because everybody's got their person in the department. And so there is no coordination between the council offices and the chief operating officer of the city. So I want someone who is used to working with an elected body like a county commission or a city council, who can come in, work with the council members, and coordinate service delivery in a way that we have not seen in many, many years in this town.
You think the committee system should be kept in place and preserved?
The idea that council members are involved in the different departments certainly gives those council members an understanding of what's going on. What I have seen is that in a strong mayoral form of government, each mayor, all the way back, this is not just about this mayor, they all choose their favorites. If you're going to be the mayor of a major metropolitan area, you can't just choose to communicate with your favorites. You've got to get along with all 15 council people. And so I think it is critical that the mayor, whoever the mayor is, work with all the council people to be able to get the service delivery and to give those council people, I'm going around a circle, but coming back to the committee structure. Because if the mayor is more involved with all the council people, not just the, quote, 8 votes needed, then you're going to have better communication back and forth about the departments and what can happen in those departments for service delivery.
So you think essentially the committee structure is probably not a bad thing?
I have no evidence to say that it is not functioning. I think it doesn't function as well as it could now because of the way it is appointed and how it's, if you look back over 8 years, and I'm not going to go there, you can figure out where we have not utilized the talents of all the council people as best we could, in my opinion. So I think that's a detriment, but I believe, and the other piece that is missing is we don't have enough communication between the departments and the committees in a way that gives the committees information quickly and easily, because council members are part-time, they're gone a lot, and they tend to get caught off guard. And so they show up or don't show up, and the communication hasn't been there. I think it's the mayor and whoever the chief operating officer is to communicate in a much more effective way other than what I've seen, which is much more lobbying. You know, you come over to council when you need your votes, rather than having them involved at a level that makes sense. When I ran a radio company, I was younger than any of the managers, and I had to gain their confidence and trust. I did that by not caring whose idea it was, as long as it was the best idea. We've got way too much who's claiming the credit down at City Hall.
If you are successful with the election, you obviously will have to deal with a number of appointments. Do you intend at this time to ask the commissioners that are in place at the moment to en masse resign, so you will be able to make choices there with ease?
I intend to decide who I might want to have. That may be some current commissioners, that may not be. I have not made any of those decisions yet. I have publicly said that I would not have the Chief Pennington, with me. Chief Cochran is now is leaving the city, so that is a position that would need to be filled. I have not made decisions on other commissioners. I would want to talk with them. Cabinet level officials. I would want to talk with them about what they see and how I could work with them. I also want to talk with council members. I also believe very strongly in communicating with departments. I have already said, and I know this will be for police and fire, that I intend to do an online survey and get feedback from the men and women of the police department and of the fire department as to who they might like to see be their next chief. You may or may not know, when the budget fiasco happened last year in '08, I sent out a questionnaire to the city employees and asked them what savings they could see that they would recommend for their departments. I then shared those answers with the finance department, with the administration, redacting all of the personal information. That was done offline so nobody could find an IP address or do any kind of mischief. But I believe very strongly that frontline employees can tell you ways that they can do their jobs better. I did that in the radio industry. I've done that in everything I've run, and I intend to do it, to be very grassroots. I believe that you have to get in the weeds, not to stay in the weeds in dealing with your departments, but you've got to get in the weeds occasionally, or you stay in the dark.
The city bureaucracy has to serve whatever the city is in terms of size. The city of Atlanta has not changed essentially in terms of boundary lines since 1952. Do you think that the city needs to become a bit larger, and in turn that might help with some of these other issues?
I think the best thing that we can do for the city to help its economic vitality is to redevelop the half of the city that has been left lying fallow for 50 years. And we have neighborhoods in this town that are mirror neighborhoods of neighborhoods on the other side of town. So when you're in Westview, you look just like you're in Virginia Highland. When you're in Adams Park, you look just like you're in Garden Hills. But you have commercial corridors that have bad uses, that have no code enforcement. We just started repopulating areas of the city that hadn't been populated in many years, and then they crashed out from mortgage fraud. We have some foreclosure in the city, but we have a lot more fraud in the city. And those houses need to be put back. We need owners, they need to put back into home ownership with city employees and other people in the city. This city needs to have people paying attention to city services, and that is code enforcement, that is public safety, that is good redevelopment. And so what I intend to do is to have the city grow, and for us also talking about the city being prosperous, looking at the fees and the fines, you know, the parking fees, I mean, I could go on and on, but we have fees and fines that all have troublesome collections right now for a whole lot of different issues.